Hello, everybody. We're live again. You know what I hate is that we are competing live with Britt Simon. I just noticed he's live on the Twitter machine. Sorry, Britt, but we need to talk about this. We want to get this out as quickly as possible. So about 4 o'clock today, we have Aaron here, we have Greg here, all intimately involved in this lawsuit. So today the judge, everybody they've been waiting for, when's he going to make a decision? Made it today. And he made it in all three cases, Filipovich, good luck, and go. But each case has a different decision within the decision, different issues that came up. So we're only going to address the go decision. But I want to trace why we know this is a win, why it would happen. Early November of 2020, or in October, we realized they're not doing any DVs. We filed an enunciado, right, Jeff? Right, Aaron? We filed an enunciado and put them on notice that you can't do this. And right when we filed our preliminary injunction and they had a response, they came out with their America Strong thingy, prioritize at least talking about DVs and saying they're the fourth priority. So we actually forced them to address the issue, which they did. And as Judge Mehta said, that was illegal. And this is what's really good about this decision. You can't prioritize. That's what this decision is. You have to treat everybody the same. So that comes out. And then the judge futzes around in California. We end up having to refile the GO case in Washington, D.C. Ends up with Judge Mehta. And the key part about this is the injunctions that we had pending in January forced Biden to come out with another plan about how to address DVs and exempted them from the ban and ordered them to begin the process of adjudication, which of course they didn't do until April. And Judge Mehta traces this in this. So basically, each of the changes the government made were as a result of our litigation and the filing of preliminary injunctions. So absent the filings, there are no DVs in 2021. I mean, I think that's fair. There's no DVs in 2021 absent the filing. So that forces them to begin issuing the cases. Then the next issue is, well, who's getting, how's this going to work? Well, the judge concluded a couple things in his decision. And we want to talk about each of those things. The first thing the judge ordered the government to do was undertake good faith efforts to expeditiously adjudicate as many DV cases through the end of the year. So that's going on. Now, presumably, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, they were doing this starting in August, right? And presumably, although they said to the judge they had 6,000 people scheduled. That was as of July 17th. My guess is they've actually interviewed more than that. They will have interviewed, my guess, probably close to 12,000 is my guess, given what I'm seeing from people emailing me. People still getting interview notices. So just because you didn't have an interview notice a month ago or a week ago doesn't mean you're not going to get one still. Curtis did note on Twitter that there are 68 consulates that haven't issued a single DV. Single DV. That's more than half of the consulates that issue DVs. More than half have not, including a number of consulates with high numbers. The judge did not order the Department of State to figure out how to issue DVs according to selection. In that, every country is allotted a certain number of DVs for selection. But not everybody's getting those visas because some countries like Russia or Iran, they're not being interviewed anywhere. He didn't order that. Even though we asked for it, he didn't order it. Now, Aaron, why do you think that is? What's your theory? Why he didn't figure out a way to get these other people interviewed?
Well, two things. One, I think he's hesitant to get into the weeds of their day-to-day operations. But two, in my opinion, his order covers those people, even without those specifics. His order to expeditiously adjudicate visas should be read by Department of State as needing to dedicate additional resources, if necessary, to implement the order in good faith. And so, for our plaintiffs at those consulates, we're you should have just gotten an email. We're wanting you to reach out and say, to implement this order, you need to either adjudicate our case at the so-called closed consulate or immediately transfer it and get it scheduled.
So every Go plaintiff here should be checking your emails, and then right after we're done, you're sending out the email we gave you to send out to the KCC or to your consulate.
This is basically a rerun of last September with the same thing as far as the there wasn't anything specifically in the Gomez decision that said these plaintiffs have to be adjudicated before everybody else. So that's keep that in mind. And people last year got pretty good results. Not every single person, but 90% plus of our plaintiffs were able to get their visas by the end.
Greg, every one of our plaintiffs was scheduled. Every single one.
Yeah.
12 just couldn't get to the consulate. So there was no order last year from Judge Mehta that plaintiffs get priority.
Yeah, and keep in mind, it would be a practical. You wouldn't be seeing very much benefit if the judge said, and plaintiffs have to be adjudicated first, because Good Luck has 24,000 plaintiffs in there, and they were successful on their preliminary injunction as well. So that would have not been a very, the result wouldn't have been all that impressive for you if they had ordered that. I think what's going to really be interesting is what the judge is going to do about reservation. And I don't know if we've talked about that yet, Jeff.
Let's get to that. So the second part of the decision is, hey, you can't use your crazy prioritization memo from November. You can't do that. That's illegal. Right. He's saying, if you've got resource issues, you've got COVID issues, I'm not telling you to ignore those. What's interesting about it, I'm not telling you to ignore those, but I am paying attention to it. And one of the things that the next thing he orders them is that in 2 weeks from today, a joint status report needs to go to him, which means the government will be telling us before the 23rd, by month since February 2020, with regards to applicants, principals, and beneficiaries, the number of interviews scheduled each month since February, numbers conducted, number of visas issued, and how many they have scheduled that last week of the month.
Which is very similar to what he asked last year.
Exactly. What he's trying to do is determine how many visas do I have to reserve? What will I have to reserve here? Now, everybody knows that we asked the judge, and he pointed this out, to reserve every unused visa. And the judge clearly pointed out that any actions prior to February of 2021 by UCS were illegal. So that means they didn't October, November, December, January, February. 5 months of visas went unused. Now, what he might be trying to do is say, okay, I've seen what you can do each month. Here's your average. Here's what you missed in these 5 months. Here's what I reserve. Now,
there's some really good. I was going to say there's some really good language on page 55 about the reservation, which I know we're going to be able to use also in some of our other cases.
Yeah. What is that language, Greg?
So it says defendants being the State Department, vigorously contest the court's ability to reserve visa numbers for processing after the fiscal year has expired. And the Go defendants contend that the court cannot order them to undertake feasible efforts to process all 55,000 available diversity visas before the end of the year. Defendants do not specifically object to the other relief that plaintiffs seek. This court recently addressed defendants' objections to the scope of its equitable powers to reserve visas and rejected them. And he refers to the Gomez case. In Gomez 3, the court explained that it retains the power to grant relief to a plaintiff who seeks relief prior to the close of the year, and thus could order defendants to process reserved DV2020 numbers. So any Chakrabarty plaintiffs that are listening in today, this helps you.
This is great for Chakrabarty. I mean, this is exactly what we're asking for in Chakrabarty, the equitable power of the court.
Right.
So, and the third thing the judge is the order. We have a video conference with the judge on September 27th. And then he's going to withhold final judgment until that date. So remember, our case is over. Now, what we tell you to do, each of the plaintiffs, when you write to the case, I am a plaintiff in the Go case. I won. Set me for an appointment. Finish my documentary qualifications. we'll be reaching out tomorrow to government counsel to see how they want to deal with this and see if they have any suggestions on how our plaintiffs. They may take the position, your plaintiffs are irrelevant. They might do that. They might say that. But again, in ACCR, I expect that, like they interviewed everybody of our plaintiffs, scheduled them. I think most of our plaintiffs will likely be scheduled, but that those that aren't, the reservation is going to be out there to use. So to me, and I think to all of us who are in the team, this is a major win because this is tens of thousands that would have not have gotten visas without the litigation. Now, for an individual plaintiff who doesn't get a visa, it's not. You don't feel like it's a win. I get that. I certainly understand that. But this litigation is about not just you, but about everybody on this. And we know that if you have a chance at it, that you can still get it. And that's what we're fighting for, is that chance to get it. You guys have anything to add before we ask some questions?
No, let's get into it.
So ad fectum, who listens to all our stuff, Montreal. So this is what we're going to be reaching out tomorrow on and say, look, dudes, what about these consulates that are open, like Montreal, like Turkey, that are not interviewing people? What are you going to do about that? What is your plan? And that's the one thing that I'm disappointed with the judge. He simply didn't address the issue. I mean, we asked him to address the issue. He simply didn't address it. And when we have a hearing on the 27th, this will absolutely come up. As a judge, you need to know that consulates that are open simply didn't do DVs. They did not. And this goes to them this actually goes to the argument. They are required to make their best efforts. We can show the judge they didn't make their best efforts. That gets us more visas. That gets us the 55,000 that we want to make sure that we reserve a total of. Do you think the KCC will documentarily qualify to be put at the end of September? I don't know. I mean, if they obviously will documentarily qualify, they will obviously schedule for interview every documentarily qualified case. They should be obvious. They should be. If they run out of those, they will continue to documentarily qualify people. So the answer to your question is I don't know what they're going to do. But again, emailing them, I think, is vital. Murat, now with this order, can we push Consulate Ankara to deliver now they've delivered? I don't know what that means. Greg, do you understand that?
Not entirely, but yes, you can. We can push every consulate to move these cases now that they've lost.
Yeah, but again, that's part of sending the email out.
The judge ordered the State Department to move expeditiously to adjudicate all of the DV cases.
Let's read that again. Let's read that order again. Shall undertake good faith efforts directly and through their designees to expeditiously process and adjudicate DV2021 applications and derivative beneficiary applications by September 30th, 2021. That's the consulates. That's the KCC.
Right. He didn't qualify it and say only certain elements or certain consulates. It was across the board.
And without reference to their priority scheme, like Chuck mentioned. So no more saying, well, we're working on it the best we can, but it's a fourth priority. That's not going to cut it.
You can't do that.
He ruled that was illegal.
Yeah. Which will be good for our Kingsley case as well. Ad fectum. Thank you. You're welcome. Murat. We talked about Murat. Well, he asked it again. No. Can we process when they're doing this? Well, again, keep emailing them. And if we, what we're going to get is a report. How many they were scheduled, how many they interviewed. That report's going to show, look, we could have done more. Because what we're going to do is we're going to compare their work to last year's. We're going to compare Turkey 2021 to Turkey 2020. Judge, in 2020, they issued 4,000 visas, and this year they issued 2 that month. Clearly, they're not doing the same amount of work. That's the power of the numbers that we'll be able to have. Ruzba, because it's up in 11 months, cases interviewing Iranian. Iranians are one of the cases that we brought up that the judge did not address in his order, but that we will be bringing up on the 27th when we talk to him.
But listen, the question is, do we have a chance? Yes, this gives you a chance. So let's play this out. So let's say you sent the email again today. It says I'm documentary qualified, and up till now, I'm assuming you're in Ankara. Up to now, they've said no, we only do Turkish citizens, and because that's what they've been doing. Now they're going to have to take this probably to their lawyers and say, hey, can we continue to say that we're not doing these cases? And a lawyer is going to have to look at it and say, is this consistent with good faith efforts to expeditiously adjudicate these cases? No lawyer can say that. So yes, I think you absolutely have a chance to be set for an interview before September 30th.
So here's a great question. Would this decision help in proportioning the quotas of all consulates accordingly? I think what he's asking is, look, every year there are 55,000 visas selected or issued with each country getting a certain number. So let's say Bermuda, it gets 2, but they notify 5 Bermudians. Bermuda issues visas. Can they issue 5 DVs? The answer is no. They can only issue 2. They can only issue as many as are actually allotted to that consulate. And presumably, when they send out notices to people that they won, they're using a mathematical calculation to determine how many of these that we notify will get a visa. And it should be as close as possible to the number allotted for that country each year. So the answer to your question is they should be doing this. I should be doing it. All subpoena review scheduled. No, Measy, that's not true. We know that's not true because a client just told us literally 2 hours ago that they just got an appointment notice. So that's not the case. They are still interviewing people. Slots are open.
Well, the other thing is now that the court has ruled that the prioritization scheme is illegal, there should be a whole bunch of new interviews scheduled because they can't rely on that memo anymore.
Right. Sarkis, the case of him docs in April to Armenia, no response. Yes, do what we told you to do. Final outcome for Go Plaintiffs. Final outcome is hopefully you'll get a chance to get your visa. That's the key.
This was a summary judgment today, so it's effectively, the court has ruled the preliminary injunction case on the other, in the other case, it's there's process to go. Really, what's left is the judge just wants the final data for September 27th to decide how many he's going to reserve. That's the only issue that's open, I think, on there.
Well, don't forget this issue, when they're going to be issued.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is there's no more legal. The judge doesn't have to look at any more of the legal issue.
This is the legal outcome right here.
All he's looking at right now is structuring the decision on there, and he's got to figure out, one, we still don't know if he's going to do like he did last year, where he's going to take a percentage and decide that COVID gave a pass for a certain number, and came up with that 9,000 number, or he's going to say that you had plenty of time to figure things out over the course of last year, and you should adjudicate all of them, especially since for the first 5 months of the year you had an illegal reason for not issuing any of them. Then he's going to have to decide how long it's going to be. He's going to have to decide, whether he's going to impose any kind of requirements on Department of State as far as, who gets picked. He's got to work out the details of exactly how he's going to structure his order, but the legal issues are all done. It's a win.
All right. The next question here is Eunice. Congrats on the win. The case reservation of the pace of embassies will matter. How can we address the slow pace of embassies as a judge after September 30th? We will not be addressing them with the judge after September 30th because our case will be over. The question then is you continuing to follow up. Now, I think what the judge may do is retain the ability for reports once it's determined when the government has to report them, he may allow for some sort of post-judgment reporting to him, or he may not. He might say, look, if they don't do them, sue them again, and we'll come back. So the answer is we won't be addressing them. That's why we want to do that as much upfront as possible. Thank you, Grumarco. Good to hear from you. Nothing about DV2020, although Judge is on a roll. Keep in mind, yesterday the judge was all day in that Oath Keepers hearing. So maybe Gomez is next. Who knows? Sammy, this is what we told you to do, right? Follow our instructions. Again, go plaintiffs. Go to your email and follow our instructions. This is OMG. I would say OMM. Oh my Mehta. All right. I'm DQ. Again, numbers with us, I just be honest with you, they're meaningless to us. We're not number experts.
Let me pop in and address this question, not so specifically, but when you all review that email that you got with some suggested language, it's template language. You need to customize it for your situation. And so if your situation is that you were transferred to Yerevan, then you can point out the case history as appropriate. Some of you all might have attorneys who have G28s on file, and they should be handling this for you. The others, you're going to need to take some initiative here to get these emails and keep following up with them, because it's not going to be possible for us to do this on all your behalf. So we sent that template language to help you, but you're going to have to modify it as appropriate and get them in as quick as possible.
By the way, it's very possible that there are State Department people that are watching this YouTube, because we know that they watch some of these things. And my message is, you've lost the case. You do not, at whatever number the judge forces you to do, you have the ability to issue and to issue all of these. And you're supposed to be a pro-immigration administration. So now that the legal arguments are done and you've lost, you should be issuing all 55,000. Why fight on that issue? You have the ability to do it. Why would you keep people out of the country? Maybe you argue that, you can argue about how much time it takes that you should have to issue all of these. But why would you limit that number if the judge has now said that you have the ability to go out longer than September 30th? Any limiting on the numbers below 55,000 just sends the message that you're an anti-immigrant administration.
Wouldn't it be great if they called and said, you know what, we'll agree to the numbers if you let us take a year? And I'd probably say, okay, if you'll do all of them, I can do that. So let's see. They're going to want to take till 2024 to issue.
We'll be in communications about these issues over the coming days. So,
yeah.
Which subject in the email header? You put your case number and your name. That's what you put in. Okay. Let's see. Philip, thank you for go plaintiff from Ghana. I will receive my visa. Will I? Well, I don't know. If you get interviewed, you should. I mean, visas are dependent on you. Ultimately, our job is try to get to an interview, which we've now set you up to try to argue for. But the interview itself was you. We've had several plaintiffs get denied because they didn't qualify. I mean, that's so. And keep in mind, the Department of State assumed that more than 50% of the people would not qualify. They notified 130,000 people for 55,000 visas.
And they are usually pretty accurate as far as how many they picked. There's not a lot of people usually left at the end of the year who don't, in a normal year, not non-COVID year, who don't get green cards because they ran out of numbers.
Yeah, it's usually not very big. We don't know anything about Moscow yet. Sorry, we don't have any word yet on that. So Moscow, Iran, Iraq, Kuala Lumpur. I mean, we don't have all the details yet.
No, but last year we do have last year as precedent where plaintiffs were able to get their cases moved fairly quickly in some cases from Moscow to Warsaw and other places.
Okay, this is a good question because it came up several times last year. What if they're put in AP and they don't get a decision before 9:30? Well, then you have to hope the judge reserves enough visas, and those visas are reserved for you to finish your AP and then get the visa. By the way, the Department of State, one of the reasons they wanted extra time for 2 years is they said they have to reprogram their computers to issue DV visas beyond the end of the fiscal year, which Curtis proved was not true because he had a visa issued after the end of the fiscal year for a client. So, I mean, it's a little unclear what's going on there. Yeah, I don't know why Vancouver's on Curtis's list. I noticed that too. They don't issue IVs. Let's see. Does John Law leaving off? This is a guy talking about the charge d'affaires retired from Manila. I don't think that makes much of a difference, honestly. Good to see him gone, though. Let's see. I want to address this issue because this guy's whining about this. Our plaintiffs did benefit because you're getting interviewed, and lots of plaintiffs are getting interviewed. Without the litigation, nobody'd get interviewed. So it's definitely a win for our plaintiffs, and we congratulate all of you for being part of this. Is this the right time to ask if you want to hire us for a G28? Sure, you can absolutely do that. I mean, in our office, you just have to call the office, set up an appointment, talk to one of our folks. Now, I assume it's true for Aaron and for Greg as well.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest, though. A G28 probably not going to make much hill of a difference. I mean, I don't know what you guys think with them. I mean, I
agree 100%.
Yeah, I just don't think it makes any difference whatsoever. They don't care if a lawyer's involved. They really don't. And I think it's generally a waste of money on DV cases, generally speaking. Let's see. A lot of individual Iranian cases. We're not going to talk about those. The email doesn't seem to cover if you've had a scheduled interview that was canceled due. We'll just modify the email. Hey, instead of saying the email, hey, schedule me, say reschedule me. Reschedule me, Lucy. That's the best way to do that. I mean, honestly, Sydney should be able to do this. I mean, they shouldn't have a problem doing this. Not documentarily qualified. Again, you can in the email to the KCC, you can put it on there as well, the consulate. I mean, you can do that on all the emails.
Yeah, you can and you should.
And you should put the consulate on there as well. Let's see. Will the government force to report how many of the prosecutors are Go plaintiffs? You know, that's a good question. I don't
Not according to the order, but maybe they will. I don't know.
But we'll be following up with the government for our plaintiffs as well. So we're still working on the back end for you guys. Had my interview 2 weeks ago, my medical 1 week ago, currently waiting for the president to get over there because you should be fine. Depending on what consulate, and you should be fine.
Skip Masheed. He just spammed us about 18 times with
Yeah, sorry.
message.
You know, that user is blocked. Sorry, you're gone. All right. Ban Masheed Kalantar. Okay. Banned. All right. Luca, my embassy recently contacted KCC. Okay, so write to the KCC, copy the consulate and say, consulate contacted you, and you told them I wasn't DQ, but I sent you the documents on X date, and I'm a plaintiff in the Go case you just lost. I need you to DQ me ASAP, immediately, this week, yesterday. You know, it's okay. Don't be a jerk, but be firm. There's a difference. Okay, there's a difference there.
You say thank you at the end.
What's that?
You say thank you very much at the end.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind attention to this matter. Embassies Yerevan, it's open and working, but not interview Iranians. Yeah, that's again, Iranians are a problem. Not that you're a problem. I mean, it's a consular
cases.
Yeah, Embassy Tbilisi, 5 cases in a week. I would imagine that's going to change after this order. Email us on Monday and let us know what they're doing. And yes, I do believe Judge Mehta is going to reserve visas. And it will all depend on.
He said he's going to reserve visas. It's only a question. He's only trying to calculate if I mean, obviously, he's going to look for a particular number because that's why he's asking for all this data. And he's going to come up with some kind of calculation. I wish he would just say basically everybody gets reserved that's not issued. You wouldn't need all the data if that were the case. But I think he's broadcast in this decision it's not going to be all of the numbers. I think you guys should prepare for that. But we have no idea yet how generous he's going to be.
You know, it's interesting because if they implement this order in good faith, which they should, then there should be a good increase in the next couple of weeks of them getting people out just under the deadline. But what that's going to do is show what could have happened if not for their prioritization schemes. So that helps our argument actually as to the calculations for how many visas should be reserved. So this data is going to be very, very interesting.
What did they do last year? 5,000 in September after the order?
7,000 in September.
7,000, and that order came down on what, September 3rd or September 5th?
4th, but they didn't start working on it until the 7th. That was 3 weeks of work.
All right, so it's almost exactly the same time, and they were able to get 7,000 visas done before the end of the month. So, that's hopefully what we're going to see, and that's one of the reasons why all our plaintiffs in ACR got their adjudications done.
By the way, the case, this is our GO case number. This is the GO District Court case number. It's not your visa number. Britt Simon must have ended his broadcast and joined us. Thank you, Britt. I want to tell you, Britt Simon has been instrumental as a fountain of information, as encouragement, and really overall just a really great guy to help with this. And you all owe a really big vote of thanks to him for what he's done for the diversity lottery this year and always. Thank you, Britt. And please listen to him when he tends to do stuff. He knows what he's talking about. You know, guys, he knows more about this than
it's great. You're vindicated because when the government tried to say that you weren't a credible source to use.
Let's see. Let's see. Afghanistan winner. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you're one of our plaintiffs, though, because we had one plaintiff that I've been working with in a very closely, trying to help her get an interview, and I'm pretty sure that she is not here.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't. Again, we'll need to follow up with the government, find out what they're going to do about this. Don't even think it's John Ishmael's decision because he wants to see how many. Yeah, that's exactly. I think that's exactly what he wants to see. So, by the way, for our GO plaintiffs, you need to go in and update the database when you get, you can go in and say, I sent an email today. I got a schedule for an interview. I went to my interview. I got approved. We absolutely will need that. We'll send another follow-up email out each week, next couple of weeks, for you to update that database, sending a link to you. But we need your information so that we can accurately convey it to the government. And Luca, yes, it would be fair if he reserved the average number of visas they issued over 5 months. Although I think he should reserve all of them. I do think that by the end of the month, I think they will have issued 25,000 DVs. That's where I think they're going to be. And I want them to reserve 30,000. I mean, it's what what I'm kind of looking for. Don't you think Judge Mehta will limit the preserved visas based on the damage done by the government versus COVID? I don't, because COVID was in the Gomez was much more severe, and really they had the 3 months. Well, they were closed. They were physically closed for 3 months. This year, I don't think that comes into play. I mean, they were clearly limited in what they could do. Not every embassy was open.
I'm wondering, we didn't argue. I mean, we've argued that they had options available to them all along to speed things up, but we actually now have, since the July arguments, we have Afghanistan and video interviewing that's occurring. I think we probably can bring up some, that argument to them is that they had the legal ability to do this all along, and we know they had the legal ability to do this all along because they're doing it now. In a case where they wanted to do it, they just didn't want to do it for these other people.
He, in my opinion, he may well still do that, limit it based on some COVID processing. But one interesting thing is, like, we have some examples in the record before Judge Mehta where, for example, Johannesburg, they outpaced their pre-COVID pace for family-based visas this fiscal year. They already exceeded the last pre-COVID year. I guess would that be 2019 in 2021? And so if they have that kind of capacity, then why couldn't they have kept pace with DV 2021?
So, they just chose not to. Good question. If you've got your visa, please let us know. We're not
use that update form.
Yeah, we're not going to be dismissed. We're not going to go through the formal process of dismissing people, but we need to know. We need to know. Be a jerk. That's it. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. Let's see. If you're in Afghanistan, you need to be contacting any other country you can get to see if they'll do your interview. That's really what Afghanis should be doing on DVs. Let's see.
There is an email address, by the way, the State Department put out for Afghans to request moving to other consulates. That's it's not DV specific, but it's probably on the website for the Kabul embassy, which is probably still online.
All right. This is actually a good point. The judge didn't ask for the IR comparison, but we are filing a joint status report. Doesn't mean we won't provide it. and say, Judge, you used this last year. Let's look at it this year. They've issued lots of IRs. This is where their prioritization scheme hurts them, because they prioritized IRs, right? So now, hey, look at all the IRs we did because you prioritized them. So I think that's kind of good for us. We will send an email out with the link. I don't want to put it here. We'll send the email out with another link, the link with another email early next week. Okay. London, you email the IV. It's London IV at state.gov or something like that. I don't have it readily handleable, but I've emailed the London consulate recently. There isn't a general embassy email address. You email to just Google email address London immigrant visa section, and you probably come up. Let's see. Jesus, please open Moscow. I don't think Jesus has anything to do with Moscow being closed. I think it's Vlad Putin is the reason the Moscow consulate is closed. And again, we'll put up that link. All right, so there's our questions for today. We'll be sending our link out. Keep us apprised of the status of your cases. Congratulations to the plaintiffs. Now the work begins. Now you need to be emailing, harassing, doing what you can. And we will keep fighting until hopefully all our plaintiffs get an interview. That's what we continue to fight for, because this is not over yet. We're a long way from being done. Anything else, guys?
No, great news. The judge ruled in your favor.
And I will be, I'm working my way through this. I will have a summary of the decision before I go to sleep tonight.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. You're a rock star. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.